the reason for leaving the Stonewall Diversity Champions program is transphobia within UCL's academic community.
The role of the university is to represent its students and to protect its students. It's not doing that anymore.
Hello and welcome to this PiTV News Special. Today we will be discussing the recent announcement by UCL to formally cut ties with Stonewall. To better understand the significance of this decision, let's first look at what Stonewall is and what it has stood for over the years as an organisation. Stonewall is the largest LGBT rights charity in the UK. It got its name from the Stonewall riots in 1969, which were a series of demonstrations by the LGBT community in New York City that are widely considered to have transformed the modern gay liberation movement. Launched in 1989, Stonewall's current work focuses on working with organisations to achieve LGBT equality in various home, academic and professional settings. Both of the programmes UCL withdrew from are key aspects of its efforts towards achieving workplace equality for the LGBTQ community. Stonewall launched the Diversity Champions programme in 2001 as a measure to ensure members of the LGBT community are comfortable in the workplace. Employees who pay to participate are given access to a library of supporting and advising resources, and Stonewall lists them on its Proud Employers career site. In turn, the employers allow Stonewall to conduct reviews of the inclusivity policies. Its other initiative, the Workplace Equality Index, is an annual ranking of British employers based on their progress in LGBT inclusion that debuted in 2005. In recent years, there have been around 400 participants, the top 100 of which are made public. UCL has had a long history with Stonewall, having joined the Diversity Champions programme back in 2006. It also ranked within the top 100 of the Workplace Equality Index multiple times, most recently placing 98th in the 2018 rankings. On December 16, UCL announced its withdrawal from Stonewall's Diversity Champions programme and the Workplace Equality Index in a statement posted on the UCL News website. This follows a previous statement made during February 2020 in which UCL announced it would opt out of the diversity programme for a year, citing financial pressures brought on by the pandemic. The administration made this decision after listening to the opinions of both the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Committee, EDI, and the Academic Board. The committee supported continuing UCL's partnership with Stonewall, while the board advised against it. In the statement, UCL senior leadership cited the Academic Board's concern of academic freedom being compromised as the main reason behind the decision. Specifically, they worried that continuing their partnership with Stonewall would mean endorsing its position towards sex, sex-based rights, as well as gender, which would inhibit the academic work and debate relating to these topics. With that in mind, UCL senior leadership did stress its commitment to supporting the LGBTQ+ community in the statement, with a particular focus on trans, non-binary and gender non-conforming members. The plan moving forward is for the senior management team to establish an LGBTQ+ equality implementation group, with the aim of developing a strong programme of action to tackle all forms of inequality, marginalisation and discrimination experienced at UCL, and to understand the concerns of the community. But despite these statements of reassurance, students and staff are voicing their disagreement with the university's decision to cut ties with Stonewall. So far, both the Student Union and its LGBTQ+ network have released statements expressing disappointment in the administration's decision. Student societies, such as the Writers' Society, have also voiced their disapproval by an open letter to the provost. Now, let's hear what some members of the UCL student body have to say.
Yeah, I was aware of it. I wasn't super aware of it, as in I wasn't extremely involved or whatever with anything, but I was aware that there was a partnership that existed.
I was aware that UCL was part of that program, and I thought that it was amazing that they were part of that program because that program aims to promote equality and to protect staff members, and by protecting staff members, you're also protecting students and the wider community.
Well, I was familiar with the Stonewall program as a whole, as it's been in the news a lot recently. Right. So I'm kind of up to date on it with that, but I didn't know too much about it in terms of UCL because the Stonewall program is primarily more related to staffing and hiring than it is actually to students. However, what we as a committee are sort of focusing on is less of how this is going to directly impact students and more of what the rhetoric used to defend this decision says about the status of sort of the rights and the safety of queer students at UCL.
Okay, so if we look at the reasons why they ended the partnership, transphobia matters more than queer students or than minorities' rights, and that sucks and that's disappointing, and it made me very angry.
I just thought that, okay, I don't know the entire context of this, so I'm just not gonna, you know, step into it. I'm not gonna say anything because I don't really know what's happening. Because I was really surprised. I didn't really want to believe that nothing was happening and that they just wanted to, you know, cut ties with Stonewall just like that. Then I read more articles about it, and again, I felt like UCL was not giving enough details and arguments for why they would make this decision, and that's why it felt a bit weird.
It is still not fair at all that UCL has left Stonewall. It's really not okay, especially because even though the Stonewall Act is mainly tailored towards staff, there are over 42,000 students at UCL, and I don't think it's fair that no students at all got any say in this.
If your academic freedom is actually making sure one group of people is allowed to speak ill of another group, then it's not academic freedom. If you shut down the voices of a whole group of people to uphold the voices of another, it's not academic freedom. It's bias, it's double standards. It's like saying, queer people, you have a voice, but only when you're not too loud. You have a voice, but only as long as you make us comfortable, as it doesn't make us uncomfortable. So it's a bit, it doesn't really stand. Like, the argument of academic freedom doesn't really make sense.
We put out a statement on it, and there was something in there that essentially said, and I'm just going to go ahead and repeat sort of what that said here, was that this statement essentially used the guise of academic freedom to invoke pages and pages worth of transphobic mistruths, to essentially say that queer students, particularly trans students, are forcing their own kind of academic ideals onto UCL's academics, that Stonewall is trying to curtail their academic freedom. That's not true. What Stonewall is about is promoting equality and equity for LGBT people. And the academic board's issue with that came from Stonewall's support for transgender people and transgender identities. And our position as a network is that the rights and identities of queer students, particularly transgender students, is not a matter of academic freedom or a matter of debate. It's a matter of human rights. And that's not something that we as a network are interested in debating. I don't actually know too much about it. I think that's something that possibly the kind of head LGBTQ network officer might know something about, but it's something that hasn't really been shared with us. I don't know if they've only just come up with it and haven't come up with much information about it or not. And I think it's good that they're thinking of setting something up, but I don't think we need something to take the diversity initiative's place. And I think one thing that's good about the Stonewall initiative is that it's external oversight, so that UCL is not just answering to UCL about its treatment of LGBT students and staff members. It's answerable to a different body that, so that there's more oversight. And I think after reading the rhetoric that was released from this meeting, I think it's incredibly important that there is external oversight, because as you can see, I'm not sure if you got a chance to read the rhetoric. It was something that was sent to us as a network that we put out, that I do not believe it was officially released by the academic board. It is just rife with mistruths, transphobic ideals, just the kind of things you don't want to see coming out of academics at your university. And I think if that's the sentiment that is going to be going into creating UCL's own LGBT equality group, that's not the kind of group you want to have on your campus promoting equality.
I co-wrote the Writer Society statement. We felt it was very important to release that statement. As part of the committee, I co-wrote it. We felt that as a society, it was crucial to express very clearly where we stood in that matter, and really reinforce the fact that like trans people deserve to be respected, and trans rights are human rights, and that's what matters to us. We don't care about, I suppose, academic freedom and like the right of TERFs to speak. That's not what matters to us.
Well, we've definitely been in a lot of talks about this. So the Stonewall decision was released right at the end of last term.
Right.
So we haven't had time to really have a full like committee meeting since then to discuss this and come up with our plans. So that's sort of what we want to spend the next couple of weeks doing. There has been a lot of communication between us, the trans network, and there's a lot of students within the LGBT network who are very interested in getting involved. So we are hoping to actually have a town hall within the next couple of weeks for students to share their opinions on this, their feelings on it, if they have any strategies that they would want to use. Right now, we are looking at sort of anywhere from potentially a letter writing campaign to possibly on-campus demonstrations if the pandemic situation allows for it, and if it's something that students in the network are interested in participating in.
I'm convincing myself that it will make a difference, but does the university really listen to students? I'm not sure about this, and hopefully they will change their minds, but I can't really, I hope so.
I don't think so, to be honest. It feels like they already made the decision without our knowledge or something like that. But I just hope to get some explanation, about, why they did that. Maybe it's another problem as I initially thought, and then, I wouldn't want to get into their problems. I just wanted some answers. It's just a bit disappointing overall.
Yes. So I guess you're probably trying to speak to just general issues of transphobia at UCL. And I will preface this, basically what I'm saying, by saying that I am not trans, and most of what I know about this topic comes from what other trans students within the network have talked about. And this is a discussion that has come up at every committee meeting we've had, which is the kind of difficulty in accessing gender neutral bathrooms, the difficulties for trans students to get their preferred names and their preferred pronouns onto official documents and within their classrooms. And the general sentiment from a lot of trans students at UCL, at least from what I've heard from last term's trans officer, was that it's not good and there's a lot of improvement to be made. Within the committee, we've talked a lot about how do we counteract transphobic ideals spreading on campus? how do we counteract them when they are guised under academic freedom or feminism or something like that. We've also talked a lot about increasing accessibility to gender neutral bathrooms. There's talk about trying to create a map around campus of just generally where students can find gender neutral bathrooms. And we are actually in the process of constructing a general overview of how queer students feel about UCL and whether or not they feel accepted and welcomed here. And I think just from within the committee, what we've sort of grasped is that there is a serious issue, particularly with UCL's upper board and academic community in terms of respecting trans students.